For almost a century, humanity has lived under the shadow of its own inventions. We built weapons not just to win wars, but to end them permanently. From hidden bunkers buried deep beneath the earth to nuclear nightmares designed to destroy entire continents, each of these creations pushed the limits of science and sanity. Some were tested, others only imagined, but all of them share one terrifying purpose: to ensure that if humanity ever went to war again, no one would survive to see the end. These are the 6 deadliest doomsday weapons ever conceived, machines capable of wiping out civilization itself. The Cobalt Bomb, the weapon designed to end the world. In the early years of the Cold War, the greatest minds of the atomic age made a terrifying discovery. Nuclear weapons didn't just destroy, they could linger. Physicist Leo Szilard, one of the pioneers behind the Manhattan Project, proposed something that shocked even his peers: a salted bomb, using cobalt as a radioactive shell. Unlike standard nuclear weapons that fade over weeks, this one would transform cobalt-59 into cobalt-60, releasing deadly gamma radiation that could last for decades, even centuries. A single detonation could cover entire continents in radioactive dust, and a large-scale deployment could turn Earth into a silent, glowing tomb. It was the ultimate deterrent, a weapon that couldn't be used without ensuring the extinction of everything. Although no government ever admitted to building one, declassified files suggest both the US and Soviet Union ran simulations. The bomb was never tested, but the fear of it alone was enough to shape policy for generations. It was the first weapon truly designed not for conquest, but for annihilation. 2. The dead hand, the machine that launches itself. By the late 1970s, Soviet leaders faced an unbearable fear. What if a US first strike wiped them out before they could respond? In a moment of grim logic, they built something extraordinary and horrifying called Perimeter, known in the West as the dead hand. This fully automated nuclear command system was wired deep into underground bunkers, connected to seismic sensors, radiation detectors, and communication lines across the USSR. If it detected nuclear explosions, loss of signal from Moscow, and complete radio silence from command, it would conclude that the Soviet leadership was dead. At that moment, it would launch retaliatory missiles automatically. Thousands of warheads would arc across the sky, targeting every major city on the planet, even if no human was left alive to give the order. It was the ultimate paradox, a weapon built to ensure that even in defeat, victory would still be claimed through mutual destruction. Rumors persist that modern versions of the system still exist today, operating silently under the name Perimeter R, ensuring that no attack on Russia could ever go unanswered. The dead hand was not a weapon of war, it was a machine built to guarantee the apocalypse. 3. Project Pluto, the flying nuclear reactor. Across the ocean, the United States had its own brand of insanity. In 1957, a project known as Pluto was launched under the U.S. Air Force and the Atomic Energy Commission. Its goal: create a nuclear-powered cruise missile that could fly indefinitely, circle the globe at supersonic speeds, and deliver multiple nuclear bombs in a single mission. The result was the SLAM missile, Supersonic Low-Altitude Missile, powered by a direct nuclear ramjet engine. It would inhale air, heat it through an unshielded reactor, and blast it out at tremendous velocity. In theory, it could fly for weeks, dropping warheads as it went, while leaving behind a deadly radioactive trail. Its shock wave alone could flatten towns without ever detonating a bomb. But the project faced one unsolvable problem. How do you test a missile that poisons everything in its path? Launching it would have meant irradiating the entire testing area. Even the scientists at Los Alamos began calling it the Flying Chernobyl. By 1964, Project Pluto was finally canceled, not because it failed, but because it succeeded too well. It proved there were ideas humanity should never bring to life. 4. Poseidon Torpedo, the ocean's doomsday weapon. Decades later, the Cold War ended, but the dream of doomsday never died. In 2018, Russia announced a weapon unlike anything ever seen before: the Poseidon Torpedo. It isn't launched from silos, but from the deep sea, an autonomous underwater drone powered by a miniature nuclear reactor. The Poseidon can travel silently for thousands of miles, lying in wait on the ocean floor until it receives its final command. When activated, it can carry a 100-megaton nuclear warhead, twice the yield of the Tsar Bomba, and detonate near coastal cities to create tsunamis over 500 meters high. These waves wouldn't just flood the land. They'd be radioactive, turning ports, cities, and entire regions into toxic wastelands for generations. Its existence was confirmed in leaked Russian defense documents, and Western intelligence agencies now track it as a new form of second-strike deterrent, a weapon meant to finish the war long after humanity is gone. The ocean once symbolized life. Poseidon turned it into a grave. 5. B41 Hydrogen Bomb, America's forgotten monster. While the world remembers the Tsar Bomba as the largest explosion in history, few know that the United States once built a weapon almost as powerful and far more practical. The B41 Hydrogen Bomb, deployed in the 1960s, remains the most powerful nuclear weapon ever fielded by the U.S. military. With a yield of up to 25 megatons, one bomb could vaporize an entire city and ignite fires across hundreds of miles. It was small enough to be carried by strategic bombers and rugged enough for mass deployment. Unlike the Tsar Bomba, which was a single test, the B-41 was real, ready, armed, and waiting. More than 500 were built before being retired in the 1970s, but for nearly a decade, the United States possessed the power to destroy the world dozens of times over. To this day, it represents the height of American nuclear ambition, a terrifying reminder that the line between defense and doomsday was always razor thin. 6. Starfish Prime, the day we nuked space. In July 9, 1962, the United States detonated a nuclear bomb 400 kilometers above the Pacific Ocean. The test, codenamed Starfish Prime, was meant to study the effects of nuclear explosions in space. The results were far worse than anyone imagined. The blast was so bright it was seen from New Zealand to Hawaii. The resulting electromagnetic pulse knocked out power grids and communication lines over 1,400 kilometers away. Several satellites were instantly disabled, and the new artificial radiation belt formed around Earth, one that lingered for years, damaging other spacecraft that passed through it. For a brief moment, humanity managed to nuke the sky itself. The experiment revealed a terrifying truth. Our weapons are not limited to the ground. They can poison the very space above us. Starfish Prime was the moment the line between science and madness disappeared, when we proved that even the heavens were no longer safe from human hands. That was today's video. If you liked it, leave a like, Use the comments to suggest a future topic and consider subscribing. See you later!